Until then, this is Dr. Janie Lacey, and I'm turning it over to Lolita. Good morning, Lolita.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is so exciting to be here today with each and every one of you all. It is Thursday, and we are going to be doing some amazing chats. Listen, we have 30 minutes of pure power that we're going to dive right into. And I see that there are folks inside of the room who are ready to chat and lean into the conversation. So whether you are on Clubhouse or Facebook in my Coaching Cocktails and Conversations community, on LinkedIn or on YouTube or anywhere else for the replay, like Coaching Cocktails and Conversations podcast or Breakfast with Champions podcast, wherever you are, I am bringing a bit of coaching, cocktails, and conversations to the party this morning. So some of you all might have never met me. It's okay. So I am Lolita E. Walker. I am a certified life, leadership, and executive coach. I'm a power speaker, a mommy, an author. You name it, I'm probably doing it. However, I love to come here and really talk about coaching, cocktails, and conversations. But let me first tell you what it's all about. Coaching is where I bring you a couple nuggets just to challenge your thinking. And here's the thing. If you can't use them, then just leave them right here because somebody is going to be able to pick it up. And I hope that it's going to be you today in something that I talk about. Cocktails is not so much about what you're sipping on, but it's more about celebrating the greatness of who you are and then giving a cheers to you for showing up and doing all of the things, for being right here inside of this space, inside of this place. And then conversations is the juiciness of what we are about to have in a couple of seconds. Good morning. Good morning. I want to say hi to Jackie Underwood, who says, great morning to you. And thank you for always showing up. And my mother is watching. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So hopefully this is going to be able to hit on somebody today. Guess what we're talking about, you guys? It's called Navigating Unchartered Territories. I want to say that again. Navigating Unchartered Territories. And here's the thing. We've all had to navigate uncharted territories. So if you've been here with me before, you already know I like to put you in a frame of mind of where is it in your life that you are navigating in uncharted territory. I'll get in that in a minute, but before we even get started, I wanted to let you know about a little morning drink that we can have. Cocktail, mocktail, there's no judgment. Listen, I don't know what time zone you are in, but giving a cheers with this right here. So here's all you're going to need in order to navigate through with me today. You're going to need 3 cups of willingness. Right? Willingness to participate, willingness to take it all in, willingness to move away any type of barrier that is in your way. Then you're going to need 2 ounces of curiosity. All right. We're mixing it up. We're pouring it in. Then you're going to need an ounce of resilience. We talked about that here before. A splash of flexibility, which we've talked about before too, because sometimes when you hear the things that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to leave you with 7 key strategies. 7 is the number of completion. And I thought 7 would be perfect today as we add a bit of a dash of courage. And then we're going to garnish it with some self-belief, because sometimes we have some self-doubt when we're navigating through these uncharted territories. All right. So if you're here with me and you're mixing it all in, then today we're ready to get into it. Now, one of the things that I love to do is to, like I mentioned, for you to really think about where have you navigated this uncharted territory and where in your life are you doing that? Now, if you remember when I talked not too long ago, it was about, I feel like it was last week, we talked about what happens, how do you get through when your train has stopped and stalled on the tracks? So we're continuing this because now that you're moving again, I hope you're following every single session, every single episode, is that now that you're moving again, your train is moving again, you might be navigating an uncharted territory. So I'll tell you a couple of things that's happening for me, and feel free to type it on in if you are navigating your train right here in uncharted territory. It could be home, it could be work, it could be life. Okay, I always talk about that. The home part, I'll tell you. So my mom and I, and she's on, my mom and I last night were caring for her mom who's 92 years old. And caregiving always takes you to these uncharted territories. You never know what's going to happen, right? And so it's uncharted because you haven't experienced before. But here's the thing, somebody else has. Somebody else has experienced that. If you're just starting a business and you're getting all flustered and don't know where to go, guess what? Somebody else has inside of your community. My son, who's 11 years old, who just woke up to get ready for our field trip today, he was so flustered at some things that's happening at school, but guess what? Somebody else has been through it before. Guess what? Mommy has been through it before. I want you to know that you're not on this train alone. So when you're going into these uncharted territories, the 7 things that I'm going to take you through today are considerations on how you can shift your mindset just a little bit to help you navigate those waters, because it's not always easy. All right. I'd love to hear from you on if you are in a process where you are navigating these uncharted territories. The first strategy I want to give you today is to turn your intimidation into growth and self-discovery. Remember, one of the things we're talking about right now is how you can shift your mindset, because I'll tell you, when you show up and you have one type of mindset, that's what's going to guide you. That's what's going to drive you. So as we're navigating through these uncharted territories, it might be scary. It might be intimidating. You might feel like you're alone. You might feel like other people have turned their back on you. You might feel like, especially as a new entrepreneur, that people are not supporting you the way you would support them. You got to redefine what support looks like. So I want you to turn whatever is intimidating to you into a notion of growth and self-discovery. How can I grow through this thing? There's a lesson in it. Listen, the pastor the other day, I was in church on Sunday, and the pastor talked about you got this. You can do it. Sometimes God's favor is you got to look for it. Sometimes it might not be right in front of you when you're going through trials and tribulations. Sometimes you got to find it. Sometimes you got to look through the weeds. I want you to turn what is intimidating to you as you navigate through this pathway of this uncharted territory into a growth opportunity, into self-discovery. Because guess what? Here's the thing. You ready? You've navigated uncharted territories before, and you're standing right here, period. It might not have been the same, but the same tears that you cried, the same frustration that you feel, the same everything that's bubbling up inside of you, the same will that you want to give up because you feel like, God, why are you giving me this thing? What if we shifted into, God, I am going to grow through this thing because I already know you're not going to give me more than I can bear. So I know on the other side of this, I'm going to be standing stronger and taller. And through this, I'm going to discover everything that I need in order to power through this. Sometimes it's the power of the ask. Jackie Underwood said, caregiving is definitely uncharted because after 25 years, you never know what might happen. Jackie has been a caregiver in helping in the caregiving industry for 25 years, and you never know what's going to happen. I have a friend, Jay Smiles. Her name is Janae Johnson, and she has a podcast about parenting up. And I remember when I first listened to it, and she talked about this being an uncharted territory and her not knowing, but instead of the tears, she had to turn to comedy. And that's how she got into comedy, because she literally felt like she was going to have a breakdown and she was experiencing all of these things. And so for her, she had to turn it into, and she is an amazing caregiver, but going through so much. So if you listen to that Parenting Up by Jay Smiles, so good. Her mother has dementia, and she talks about these stories about how she's caregiving and pushing through. But the point is, what I'm telling you is that I want you to turn your intimidation into growth and self-discovery, because your power of your ask is that somebody has gone through this before and you can ask. Sometimes it's the power of asking that helps us to release. Oh my gosh, so good. So the first thing is that we're turning our intimidation into growth and self-discovery. The second thing we're doing, because we're going into these uncharted waters, is that we're turning our paralyzing fear into opportunity. Sometimes you just get stuck in fear. And let me just I love to tell stories about myself because 1, they're true. 2, they're relatable. 3, it helps you to even think about what's happening inside of your life. And so here we go right here is that the opportunity, sometimes you don't see it, but the paralyzing fear. So sometimes when I get overwhelmed, sometimes when there's all of these things happening, I have school, right? I have work, I have looking for a house, I have my son's projects, just like you can name all of these dominoes that you have going on right now, right? And sometimes they get overwhelming. And sometimes I've talked to you guys about this. If you haven't heard me talk about it, then make sure you go back. It's about these boxes of overwhelm. Okay. Boxes of overwhelm, and how you can turn what feels like a fear, right, into an opportunity. Because sometimes for me, when the fear happens, when the overwhelm happens, when I'm stuck not talking to my future me, then sometimes I go into paralysis analysis. Sometimes I want to ask why a million times instead of just getting to the root cause that happened at the third why. Sometimes I lay in my bed and I just have the cover over because I'm also procrastinating. Sometimes I don't want to face whatever's in front of me. But what I want to tell you today and encourage you is that paralyzing fear, what if you looked at it like an opportunity? I'm just saying. Okay. So now we have two strategies. You can turn, we talked about, it could be intimidating. It could be fear that you have. And then this third one right here that I want to talk to you about is anxiousness. Do y'all know, as a side note, I have a new book coming out. It's called Dear Anxiousness. I'm so excited for it to come out. And it is one of the poems that's in my last book, Can We Talk, which is one of the 44 letters and poems that's in my last book. I can't wait to tell you all about it. But if you go to my Instagram, which is at Hey Coach Walker, you can see the cover of the book, which was designed by a 17-year-old amazingness that we can talk about another time. I've been talking about Brittany for the last couple of weeks, so you'll be able to take a look at that. Now, you can turn that anxiousness into gathering, learning, and educating yourself. Seek to understand. Seek to look into the woods and understand. Seek to look into the weeds and understand. Turn whatever feels like anxiousness as you're walking and navigating through these uncharted territories. You could get anxious. You could get anxious. I know I have. But turn that into the opportunity to gather, to learn, and to educate yourself. Sometimes you just got to breathe through it all. I was with my son yesterday, and sometimes we just had to breathe through it all. We got to breathe the anxiety down. And then we got to ask ourselves, which goes into, I think, number 4 right here. No, it's number 5 or 6. We'll talk about that in a second. But sometimes you got to ask yourself about, is this true? What is it that I'm anxious about? What is it that your negative thoughts are saying to you? And then this is what I did for him is I said, here's all your negative thoughts, right? If you're looking at me on any of these platforms video, then you can see it. If you're not, then I have my 2 hands up and they look like they're colliding into one another. One is your negative thoughts that's coming into your brain, right? And then that other one is going to push all of those negative thoughts back because it's being filled with this positive energy that you're getting. And why? Because sometimes when our negative thoughts come in, we say them out loud. We got to ask ourselves, is that true for real? Is it true that you don't have any friends for real? Now, if it's true, let's talk about it. But I don't think that's true because I can already name one and I'm sitting right here. God is already right there. I heard you just talking to somebody on the phone yesterday. Who's that person? Are we considering them friends? Because if we're not considering friends, we don't need them inside of our space. Your negativity might be, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do this business right here. You know what, I got so many things on my plate. I'm going to push my PhD to the side. No, I want you to say, Lolita, hey, guess what? You're 1 semester down. You're about to be 1 year down. That means 2 semesters. What's another 3.5 years? Sometimes I have to laugh at that. But the point is, it's this piece of your train, right, that is coming to push the other piece out of the way because we have no time for all of this negativity coming into our space. Because why? We just talked about it. We are turning our intimidation into growth and self-discovery, and we are turning our paralyzing fear into opportunity. How do we know about doing that thing right there? Because you're standing right here, literally. When I did my TEDx talk, right, and I'm talking, I'm like, you're standing right here. No, I want you to imagine, literally, you're standing right here. You're sitting right here. What does that mean? That you've already demonstrated how you can get through uncharted territories. Do you get it? You're standing right here. So you've already demonstrated it. So I want you to know. I want you to bring you back to the table and get in front of this thing because, yes, I'm going into this thing with fear, anxiety, stress, all of the things. But I know that I possess enough to be able to stand up to fear, to intimidation, to anxiety, to stress, because I am driving this train, period. I get so excited. I wrote on Instagram the other day that I'm really talking to myself half the time, and you guys are just happening to be here live in order to check out the conversation. Yes, yes, and yes. So let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Now, we already talked about the first 2. We talked about number 3. We only have a power half an hour. And so we are going into the next piece right here. Are you ready? Because I'm on number 4. We only have 7 and we want to push through. Whenever you have something to add, you can come off mic and say, hey, Lolita, guess what? I got something for this thing right here. Number 4, I want you to turn your challenges into footstools, period. Turn your challenges into footstools. What does that mean? I'm standing atop of the challenge. That's what it means. I want you to put some imagery around this thing. The footstool is right there. The challenges are right underneath it. I have challenges every day. So this thing, this uncharted territory that we are navigating, let me tell you what's in my mind right now. Sometimes we go through a tunnel. You know, when you're on the train, and sometimes it goes through a tunnel. And you're going into, you don't know what's up ahead. You don't know what's up ahead. And so you're going through what might be uncharted. And then you get into this rocky terrain, right? But guess what? You're still on the tracks. And because you are the navigator of this here train, then you can decide where we go. Absolutely. Turn your challenges that you're facing right now into your footstools. Jackie said, this is so real. I know. I want you to go with me, because when I'm talking to you all on Coaching Cocktails and Conversations and infusing that with Breakfast with Champions, where it's also going to be on a podcast, I want you guys to know that you can put yourself right into each and every one of the pieces of soul work that I give you every single time we have an episode. And did you miss it? Are you new to me? No problem. Well, head on over to Coaching Cocktails and Conversations and listen to it. Head on over to Breakfast with Champions podcast and listen to it. Head on over to Facebook Coaching Cocktails and Conversations and LinkedIn and YouTube and listen to it. Watch it and then put yourself in the situation, because listen, I don't just come here just to hang out. We take action from these things. We move and we pick up the piece that's going to help us inside of our lives. And so I appreciate the fact that Jackie said, guess what? This is so real, because Jackie, what I know on the other side of that is that she takes pieces of the puzzle and be able to push it inside of her life as well. Just like some of you guys. Done, and done. Yes, and yes. Let's move on to number
Lolita, can I jump in?
Jackie?
Oh my God. This is so good. This is so good. Listen, as you were talking, I know this is on number 3 before you go to 4. I know you're already there. But this is talking about overwhelming. You know the project I'm involved in right now. Yep. And I'm so excited. But I felt yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, just a spirit of overwhelming. It just came over me. I'm like, are you crazy, Jackie? You cannot do this. It just came so strong. And normally I can deal with a challenge. It doesn't like really overwhelm me. But this thing is the biggest thing that's ever happened to me, I think, in my, in business and things like that. So it's like, all kinds of things came in my mind. Like, you can't do this. This is going to flop. I mean, just everything you could think of negative about what I'm doing right now came to my head. And I had to really settle myself down and thinking about it. But Jackie, you were built for this. You were built for this. So it's not going to flop. It's going to be amazing. You were going to do exactly what your purpose was and what you're set out to do. You're going to impact and change the lives of all nurses all over the world. That's big. Woo! But I felt overwhelmed just thinking about how big that is. And I got really nervous. I want to share that. It's kind of so good. Thank you,
Jackie. Because you know what? There's somebody else who's feeling overwhelmed. So here's a couple strategies, you guys, that you could potentially take a couple of strategies right here. Okay. So I talked about the boxes of overwhelm. Now, Jackie already has this soul work inside of her arsenal right here. But sometimes when you're so overwhelmed, you forget to go back there. So what she said is, guess what? I had to take a pause for the cause. I had to sit back and I had to recollect myself. That's the first thing I had to do, because all of these negative things were coming in my head and it just got so big. That's what she just described. This project had gotten so big and I really started to see how enormous it was and the impact that it's going to have. And I'm thinking about little old me. Am I going to be able to do this thing and carry it out? That's what she said. I'm paraphrasing it right there. So a couple of strategies that we can take right there is turning that intimidation, like we just talked about, into opportunity and growth. And so what Jackie knows is that when we have those boxes of overwhelm, we start to break things out in smaller pieces. So now you start thinking about, what is it that's really driving me into the overwhelm? Why am I really overwhelmed about this thing? Okay. One of them is, this thing is so big and then it's just little old me. Do I have the resources to do it? So resources might be one. Do I have the financial stability to handle this thing right here? Do I have the people around me? So some of the answers to that is absolutely yes for Jackie. I just happen to know her situation. And for the ones that's not, then we have to ask ourselves, well, what is needed from me right now? Because it might not be the $1 million, right? It might be the $500. It might be the $1,000. It might be that thing that is going to push us over the edge. So when we want to turn this anxiousness into gathering, then that's part of the strategy of what we can do is break it down into tiny pieces, whatever that thing is. Then learning and educating yourself and re-educating in Jackie's instance, because she had to tell herself, because she's done her own work, she had to tell herself, well, hold on, wait a minute, I got this thing. How do I know? Because guess what I've done? Guess what else was uncharted territories? And this thing might be the biggest thing for her in her business right now. But guess what? In her business, I happen to know is that something else was really big at one time, right? Because she didn't have this to compare it to. And what happens is that as you move up the echelon, now you're forgetting how you felt in those other places when it was so big. Those things seem smaller now because you have something else with your focus and your attention. But guess what? That last thing was major. And you're standing right here. Major. So Trish just says, so amazing you're having this talk. I have been working on a project of Creators Rebuild New York. Working in a project for Creators Rebuild New York. Today is the ribbon cutting. Congratulations in the Bronx. And so congratulations to you. And that is right there, you cutting success. You cutting the fact that I'm standing right here. You knowing that I had to walk through uncharted territories to get here. And there's going to be some others that come along my way. But what I know is that this feeling right here, I'm going to keep it and I'm going to walk into it. So let's keep on going, you guys, because we got to get to the 7. And I also want to make sure we can definitely open this up right here a little bit. So I appreciate you, Jackie, for jumping in. Turn your negative nouns into truth demonstrators. Oh, shoot. Turn your negative nouns. Those are those negative people, places, and things that are coming into yourself, your space, right? Negative people. Sometimes people tell you things and they forget that, no, I got this. I'm grounded in my faith and my strengths. I'm grounded in my faith and my strengths. Pastor said on Sunday, I'm telling you, I'll be like, are you in my head? Pastor said the other day, he was going through a divorce and they had been separated and he was toiling for months, for weeks, for so many months. And he just was like, so many people were telling him, you're going to lose this church. Like, people aren't going to follow you anymore. They're not going to come. Like, this is going to be such a big deal. And it wasn't until he got the courage, right? Remember, I told you that we have this cup of willingness, and then we have curiosity and resilience and flexibility. And then you got some people that come into your life to remind you for the spaces and places. And people started coming in and it's like, hold on, wait a minute. You got this. Wait a minute. You built this not on a relationship. You built this based on what you brought to the table and based on your faith. And look at God. Done and done. Sometimes we work ourselves up so much that we forget how we're going to move forward. And so I want you to turn those negative nouns into truth demonstrators. What does that mean? I have demonstrated my truth before. I have demonstrated why, because I'm standing right here. Number 6, I want you to turn that self-doubt. And this is normal to have self-doubt, you guys. It doesn't mean you don't have these things. It means now that you know what it is and you can recognize it because you looked into the weeds and you're like, oh, hey, self-doubt. Hey, you right there. I'm going to make you fuel of encouragement that's going to shift me and not define me. Self-doubt doesn't define you. I want you to encourage and to move. Remember that train. I want you to push that train over of all of that negativity, because now you are recrafting the narrative to your story. Your narrative to your story didn't stop yesterday. It could restart today. Done and done. Number 7, because I promised you the number of completion. Number 7 is, remember what I call Lolita's 3C equation for success. It is clarity plus confidence equals commitment. Clarity, where is it that you're going? How is it that you're going to feel at the end of this thing? Plus confidence, I want you to increase it, because why we're standing right here equals the commitment of how you are going to navigate through these waters right here. Remember what we talked about before, this mocktail, cocktail, drink, concoction, breakfast smoothie, the thingy that you're having right now, the pathway. You need 3 cups of willingness, 2 ounces of curiosity, an ounce of resilience, okay? A splash of flexibility in this dash of courage, because we're garnishing it with a pinch of self-belief. And all of those things are going to culminate to give you your clarity plus confidence equal commitment. Today, I want you to re-listen to this episode and think about what piece in your life are you navigating right here, and how are you going to navigate these 7 strategies, even one of the 7, to move forward? And of course, I got to tell you, when you choose to come to my Women's Weekend Renewal Retreat, then guess what? We push on making it happen right there. It's all about accountability, right in a place and space. Right in a place and space. So I'm going to open it up. I think I have 4 more minutes if anybody wants to jump in. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I just wanted to say, this is Rotul Shanique, by the way.
Hi, Rotul.
I think you said a lot of interesting things that I agree with. And I wanted to say congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to say, when you said that, I was like, that's pretty cool, because I have a book that I wrote that just came out yesterday. So that was cool for you to say, for me to hear that.
Well, let everybody know what the book is called.
The book is called Pieces of Hope.
Excellent.
It's a book of encouragement that I wrote. And yeah, I think a lot of people need encouragement. I know I do. And yeah, so I think that it's a great book that will help people on their day-to-day, in the morning, before they go to work, whatever the case. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Absolutely. And thank you for being here. Congratulations on your book as well.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. If there's anybody else who wants to pop in before I continue, that would be great. I love this. Okay. Here's the thing, everybody. I'm Lolita E. Walker, certified life leadership and executive coach. And so when I come again, it's really to power you with coaching, cocktails, and conversations. The coaching is all about what? Leaving you with nuggets to challenge your thinking. I love that you can place yourself in a space, because I always give you some type of soul work. The key is taking action from that. Cocktails is not about what you're sipping on today. We had a little mixture that I wanted to give you for purposes of really understanding what it is that we're talking about today. But then it's celebrating who you are when you show up. Each and every one of us is going through uncharted territory. These strategies will help you navigate through, because you recognize, you realize, and you trust that I'm standing right here. And then conversations is what we had today, whether you typed it in the chat, whether you're talking to me, or whether you go to my Instagram or any other social medias. Just want to say thank you so much. Exactly. Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to do it all again. My Women's Weekend Renewal Retreat, if you haven't yet clicked on the top of the link, if you're on Clubhouse or inside of any of my other socials, you can just go to lolitawalker.com/retreats. It's September the 14th through the 17th, always the 3rd week inside of the year. And I would absolutely love to have you. 19,000 square feet, all inclusive. And we power through you making sure you're accountable inside of the place and space, because you absolutely walk away differently every single time. We have changed lives, and I'm so proud. That's one of the things I'm so super proud about. If I could do that every month, I absolutely would. Somebody would say, well, why can't you? Because I would say that too. So we're working on it. But in the meantime, in between time, keep on pushing you guys through the uncharted territories that you're absolutely going through today. Thanks so much, Lolita E. Walker. Hey, Crystal.